everyone, it is Shannon and I am here today to do a book haul. I am really excited about this. I haven't done a book haul in a while. I haven't been making as many videos, but because I bought all these books, I'm like, I have to do a book haul. I have to do a book haul. And I went down to the Toronto Public Library permanent bookstore down at the Reference Library, which is called Bookends. They also do have one at the Civic Center. I'm not 100% sure if it's open yet. It was under renovation for quite some time, but the Reference Library is more convenient, so that's where I go. And so yeah, this is somewhere I go every once in a while, and I went with my sisters recently, and so we went on an adventure, and it was fun to look at all of the books, and I came home with a fair amount of books, and I was glad my sisters were there with me, and they helped me bring them home, because there was a fair amount. There is a fair amount. There still is. So let's get started. I always start by looking at the science fiction and fantasy because it's always near the front and they have it sort of like on a cart. So I picked up this glorious, glorious book, The Ship Who Sang by Anne McCaffrey, and the line on here is awesome. She had a brain of a woman, the body of a spaceship, and the wiles of a siren born in the stars. How could you not want to read this? And I have read Anne McCaffrey before, but not for quite some time. I've mostly read her fantasy. This obviously science fiction because spaceship. And I'm just super digging the idea of like 250-page mass market science fiction and fantasy, because so much of the science fiction and fantasy that I've been reading or wanting to read is like really long in parts of series. This actually is the first book in a series, but I have a sense that maybe it was like the first one came out and then later it became a series. I'm not sure, because I checked it when I was at the store and it didn't look like a series, but then when I looked it up when I got home, it did look like a series. I don't know why one place it did and one place it didn't. But anyway, The Ship Who Sang. Have you read it? I can't wait to read it. I'm really looking forward to this. Also in the same vibe, I got Salvage and Destroy by Edward Llewellyn. This is obviously science fiction. And a quarrelsome, belligerent beings of Earth had already had space satellites and planetary probes. Soon they would find Ultron's orbital beacon. Okay, so it goes to explain more of that. Aliens, computers, science fiction. This one I had never heard of. I haven't heard of the... Sorry, I said the keyword for my echo. I didn't mean to do that. I'll have to try not to do that. I don't know if you could hear that in the background. Anyway, I'm looking forward to checking this out. This is another one of those sort of 250-pager mass market. This is a standalone, and I am looking forward to checking it out. Yeah, look at that ship. Looks like a water ship. Like it looks like a ship of the sea, but I think it's a spaceship. We shall see. Next up, I have this one I posted on Instagram, and I put a couple of different pictures up and asking people to guess if they could figure out which of these covers, which of these books I picked up, and the winner was, I think everyone picked this one, and it was The Dragonbone Chair by Tad Williams. This is the first in the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn trilogy, it says on Goodreads. I wasn't sure if this was like the first trilogy of a longer series, or for some reason I thought it was a longer series, but I'm not sure. I haven't read Tad Williams before, and I definitely picked this up because Amy from Zoe Beck has mentioned it recently, and has mentioned Tad Williams recently and regularly, and I have never read him, and it's definitely a blind spot for me in terms of fantasy. So when I saw this, and paperbacks are 3 for $1, I was like, yeah, it's time. It's time to check out The Dragonbone Chair. Of course, this one is back in the land of 760-page first in series, so the other two books combined are shorter than this one. So anyway, it doesn't matter. It's all good. I'm really, yeah, I don't know anything about this one. It will be my first Tad Williams, so we shall see. But that's like also in the same land but slightly different vibe. I also picked up Guilty Pleasures by Laurell K. Hamilton. This is the first in the Anita being Vampire Hunter series, and when I put this in my spreadsheet, which was probably several years ago because it was a pick for the Vaginal Fantasy book club at some point. At that point, it was a series that had 24 books plus supplementary material, so I'm sure it is up to more books than that, and I'm actually really happy. It's another one of these like 260-page books, and so this is urban fantasy, vampire hunter, racy, as you can probably get that vibe. Yeah, and I've never read it, and I love urban fantasy. I think I do want to try all of the really big urban fantasy series or paranormal romance series, and so this is definitely one that is on that list that's not even a list yet. I think I might have started a list, I don't know. But anyway, Guilty Pleasures, definitely want to read it. Thrilled that it's short-ish, you know. In the same vibe, but not totally different, actually. I also picked up this Dark Souls art book. Dark Souls is a video game, and I picked this up for the art. There's no words. It is on Goodreads, but I don't think it has an ISBN. I think it came with the game at some point. But I thought this would be really great to turn into bookmarks or to use the art on journals and stuff like that, because it's really fabulous imagery of fighters and monsters and all that good stuff, right? So this one it's falling apart. I will technically read. I will look at all the pictures. I probably won't count it as like pages read. And then I'm going to make it into art or to stuff. Make it into art or to stuff. We shall see. Collage materials, it's always good to have stuff like that on hand. Next up, this one I am super excited about, and it is Kick-Ass. It is 4 original sexy tales of women who know how to save the day and enjoy the rewards of the night. And it has stories by Maggie, Shayne, MaryJanice Davidson, Angela Knight, and Jacey Ford. I think I've read Maggie Shayne before. I'm not 100% sure, but she was the one that was familiar to me. And this came out in, let's take a look, is it the 2000s? 2005. And one of the things that I've been looking for and totally open to recommendations for is romance novels or stories or series that have very proactive, active, kick-assy heroines or female leads, because I like that. I like that, and I feel like right now some of the current titles, I feel like I'm not seeing that as much, and I'm not super looking, so I'm not saying it's not there, but I realize I like it, and I think there are some time periods, oddly or not oddly, some of the 80s stuff is, and I think some of the earlier 2000s stuff is, so that's one of the other reasons why I picked it up, because, well, why not? Like, who wouldn't want, sexy tales of women who save the day and enjoy the night? Like, all of that is good. So I hope this is really good, and I hope it fits that sort of romance niche that I'm looking for. And yeah, so that's that one. Going completely different vibe here, I have Ghosts by Ibsen. This is a play, and this is a Dover Thrift edition at like less than 100 pages. I read 4 plays by Ibsen earlier this year: The Wild Duck, The Doll's House, Hedda Gabler, and The Master Builder, and I really enjoyed all of them, and I thought that he might be someone that I go and read through his entire catalog. He's a Norwegian playwright from like this was first performed in 1881. Although, that being said, I have talked to my sister who studied theater, and she said that the ones I read are like the ones. So I don't know if it makes sense to go back and read the rest, but so far some of the work that I've read of his has been my favorite of this year, and always makes an impression. Whether or not it's one I love, it still always makes an impression. So I think I'll continue to explore, and I do like reading plays physical. In physical editions, not exclusively, but there is something nice about it, just in terms of the formatting and stuff. So yeah, Ghosts. Along the same lines, we have more plays. We have I'm not sure how to say, is it Theban? Plays by Sophocles. I think that's right. And so this has Antigone, which I used to pronounce Anagon when I was younger. Anagon. That's how it looks. Isn't it? Anagon? It's Antigone. And then I don't know, actually I've heard it's Oedipus the King and Oedipus at Colonus, or Oedipus. So Oedipus or Oedipus. I'm not sure if both are accepted. I don't know if one is either side of the pond. I don't know. Anyway, one of these, I think Oedipus the King, is on the Shannon Reads Those Books list, but I do want to read all of them. I have read sections from Antigone, or I've read other plays with the character of Antigone. I can't remember what the thing is about her character, but I know it's a very powerful female role. So yeah, and why read one when you can read all three? So, and of course it's the Penguin Classics edition. This one, they actually had several editions of this bind up, this trilogy. I don't think it's a trilogy. Might be. I don't know. So anyway, but I decided to go with this one, especially since I liked the formatting. There's a fair amount of white space between the dialogue, which I prefer in terms of plays. And they do have, you know, intros and, I don't know, what's it called? Introductory and notes. So there's introductions and notes, which is good. I usually read the plays and then go back and read them, or don't go back and read them, depending on if I like the play or not. But yeah, because it tends to be more like scholarly, obviously, Penguin Classics, and doesn't shy away from talking about the themes and stuff like that, which I prefer to go into after I've read it. So yeah, so more theater. More theater. Next up, I picked up some art books, and I picked up Concepts of Modern Art. This is the Thames. Is this Thames? Thames? Oh wow, I feel really like I should know that. And Hudson edition. I have a fair amount of stuff from them. Yeah, so modern art, and this is the revised edition from the 80s. It was originally published in the 70s, so it's got a whole bunch of different art movements: Expressionism, Cubism, Dadaism, or Dada, Constructivism, Kinetic art, Pop art, Opt art, Minimalist, and Conceptual art. Those are the two I think they added, was the minimalism and conceptual art. And this is minimalism not as we think of it today, but minimalist art. So anyway, I've already started this one and I am enjoying it, but it is pretty heavy. But you know, it's a big nonfiction art text that's obviously used for schools, so of course it's going to be heavy. And then I also got Essential Art History by Paul Duro and Michael Greenhalgh. Greenhalgh. And this one is actually more of a lexicon. It is a alphabetical listing of different art terms, movements, materials, you know, and you know, brush, like literally brush, you know, like Buddhist art. I didn't know that was a thing. So I decided from the two books to read the other one first, but I might dip into both of them at the same time. This one's a lot heavy, like a lot lighter. The paper it's on is a lot lighter than the other one, so the other one's a little heavy in the hands. This one, but this one might be a little dusty, which is, you know, that can happen, of course, when you buy used books. Usually I do a check, but after, you know, after you try like 10, it's hard to tell which is which. And unfortunately, this one had a sticker on it that even after I took it off was very, very sticky. So I put some Post-it notes here, and I am going to I'm just going to use shiny Scotch tape and go over it. It's my book now. I can do whatever I want with it. So anyway, I'm looking forward to this one. I know it's kind of unusual to read. I'm going to read it from A to Z, and I know that's unusual, but I read lexicons. Why not? Another book I am in the middle of is this one, In the Shadows by Kiersten White. The text story is by Kiersten White, and the art story is by Jim D. Bartolo. And this one I'm reading, it's currently the Read More Comics readathon hosted by Rincey of Rincey Reads. I'll leave a link above. And it's all about reading, you know, comics, graphic novels, manga, any kind of graphic works. And this one is a combination of images. So each chapter has like a bunch of images and then a bunch of text. So it's usually sort of like one to 8 pages like this, or so 1 to 4 pages like this, and then sort of like, you know, a couple of pages of story. It's taking me a lot longer to read than I thought, because when I just flipped through it, I mostly saw the images, and the images are extraordinary. I'm not sure how I feel about it. It's also a bit creepy, as you can tell, with these people with like pupils. Is that the part with it? Yeah, there's no pupil or iris. Anyway, so it's a little, I'm not sure how I feel about the story, but I am enjoying, and it is taking me longer because there's way more text than I thought. I didn't realize that format was sort of like some pictures, some text, some pictures, some text. And the text can be like, you know, like 10, 12 pages. And I don't know how related the stories are. And I'm feeling weirded out that I can't figure it out. Oh, well. I think I might leave. Okay, I'm gonna leave that one till last. And so now on to some more literary fiction. I picked up some Canadian titles, including The Progress of Love by Alice Munro. This actually is a short story collection. I have already tabbed it off. I hope to read it this month. It's got, I think, 12 short stories, 11 or 12 short stories. I've read The Lives of Girls and Women, which I mentioned in the mid-year book freakout tag. And when I was doing that tag, I realized, wow, I haven't been reading tons of, like a lot of the ones I picked for the A is for author were Canadian. And I haven't been reading a lot of Canadian works. And then lo and behold, Alice Munro just popped out there for me. And this actually, I haven't had this kind of edition before. And but it's quite nice, I think, in terms of the spacing. It's a penguin, but she's Canadian, and and I don't it must be, I don't know if this is from the 80s. It's so funny to see the different, they had this style in Lives of Girls and Women as well. I would love to get the one from the 70s that was the kind that I read in school. So this is late 80s. Oh yeah, McClellan and Stewart first published. Okay, and then published by Penguin the year later. So yeah, so like Progress of Love, Alice Munro. Most people I think know, hopefully, Alice Munro. She's very well-known Canadian award-winning author. I also picked up Swamp Angel by Ethel Wilson. This is another Canadian one. I think this one is set out west. I'm trying to see if they say, yeah, British Columbia. She goes to work in a fishing log in the interior of British Columbia. And I was actually really happy to see that this one was on the smaller side. I've seen this type of cover, I think it's New Canadian Library, yeah, by McClellan and Stewart, but I've never seen it in physical edition. I've always seen it like on Overdrive, like at the library. So to see an actual physical edition in this template, this striped template for the Canadian work was really cool. Yeah, and this has been on my list, of Canadian books to read for a while, because I did notice, I was starting to notice that most of the Canadian works I read were set in Ontario or Manitoba, so I thought I wanted to actively work towards reading more, you know, expand the geographical net, and so this one is from BC. It's from, and this is from a while ago. This is first published. Don't see it. Well, Ethel Wilson lived from 1888 to 1980. So this one, 1954. Yeah, so this one was from a while ago. So I think I'll start Progress of Love first and then move to that. Now this next one, I'm also going to blame/thank Amy from Zoe Beck, because she mentioned this author recently, and maybe even this book, and I had not seen it since I had been working in bookstores, and that is Kitchen by Banana Yoshimoto, and it's another tiny book. Maybe that's why I bought so many, is because most of them were small. And I remember this from when I worked at bookstores, and I've never read it, and this actually, it's got the deckled edges. I don't think it's first edition. Like it's translated, so it's not first edition. Translated from the Japanese by Megan Backus, and this is from the 90s, yeah. So the original is 88, and then translated is 93. So yeah, so I am, I'm not sure, maybe this was from them. Someone wrote their name in it. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to reading it. I don't know, I think it's 2 stories. I think that's how it works. And I'm very, very curious about it. It's been sort of just a zeitgeist title that's sort of been in the ether since then. So soon, I should read it in August, because it's Women in Translation Month. So we'll see if that happens. And then almost last is one that I picked up that's actually a first edition. They have first editions separately. And that is Blueback, a contemporary fable by Tim Winton, who is an Australian author, and another tiny story, and he wrote The Turning, which was made into a film that was, I think, a set of short films altogether or something like that, or it was made by a bunch of different directors, and I had wanted to watch that, and I started reading the book at some point. Like I got it, I think I previewed it, and I was like, oh yeah, I really want to read it, and then I never ended up reading it. So this one is definitely water set, so great for summer. And I think it's somewhere, I think it's see, the one line here just gets me. We come from the water, she whispered. We belong to it, Abel. So it's about Abel, who lives for and from the sea. I like water stories, so yeah, definitely want to check this out. And this one is first edition, but it was $4, but the blue dots were on sale for half off, so I got it for $2. So yay! And then last but not least, the title that I picked up, because paperbacks are 3 for $1, and so, or 50 cents each. So I had 5. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get one more because it's basically free. And the one that I decided to go with is another one that just feels like a Zeitgeist title, and that is Circle of Friends by, is it Maeve Binchy? This one again is one that I'm sure I sold many copies of. I think I have seen the movie. Oh, someone cut out their name. See that? Like or cut out something from that first page. It's totally cut out. And so I haven't read any. I might have read something by her back in the day. And this was published in 1990, so I don't want to read the back, but and this one's a chunkier one, so I hope I don't get to like here and then like be like, oh yeah, I did watch the movie. This is what happens. I don't know. So yeah, so I am looking forward to reading that as well. I don't know if I can do the whole let's hold these all books together thing, but it was a really, really good pick. I think I'm really happy. I don't think I can do it. So this is one set. This is half of them. I'm very, very happy with the books that I picked out. I am really looking forward to reading them. I have started 2 already. My plan is to read them in the next 3 months. Here's the second half. If I could Photoshop, I could put those together and then I would disappear. So yeah, I think it ended up being 15-ish books. No, it's more than that. And it was $14 because most books are $1, and then the paperbacks are 3 for $1. Like the mass market paperbacks are 3 for $1, and then there's some individually priced ones, like the art-ish one. This one was more expensive. This one was $4 on sale for 2. So, and it makes sense. Like I can totally understand why this would be more expensive. So there you go. There are the whatever number of books that I picked out. I'm really looking forward to them. Let me know, have you read any of these? Are you planning on reading any of them? I know it's sort of like all over the board with like art history and urban fantasy and literary fiction and Canadian, but that's, and plays. Those are the sections I go to. I was really sad to see there was no romance section. There were a couple of romance books put with the mass market paperbacks, but they had 4 full-on bookcases of mystery and thriller. And it does depend. These are books that are either donated or withdrawn from the library, so it can completely vary. And they change their stock all the time. So, but it was a little sad. They usually only have 1 shelf of romance, but this time, there wasn't. So, but every time I've gone, it's been a little bit different. I did find the graphic works. I didn't buy anything. I put some pictures up of Bone, but they had like 3, 4, and 5. So I didn't get that, but the graphic works were like under the art books, like way at the end. So I don't know if they're always there or if they just happen to be there. So it's always good to look everywhere, because you never know what you're going to find, and I'm very happy with my finds this time. This ended up being a really long video. I guess I was feeling a little chatty. I hope that you enjoyed it. I'll leave information for Bookends down below for folks that are in Toronto and want to check it out. The hours are they're not I can't remember what the hours are. I'll leave the information down below and you can check it out yourself. So thank you so much for watching.